Hi there, my name is Stephanie and this is Couture, Costumes, and Cats. Today we're talking about my Powerline outfit in honor of the Goofy movie 30th anniversary. It's been 30 years since a Goofy movie came out. I can hardly believe it. 1995 was such a big year for movies, for me at least. I just did a 30th anniversary for Clueless just last month. And there's also that Batman Forever movie that came out, and Casper, Showgirls. So many movies came out in 1995. But I loved a Goofy movie so much. It always stuck with me, and I wanted to make a Powerline outfit for as long as I can remember. But, since Powerline really doesn't have the same body type as me, I struggled for a really long time as to what could I do to interpret this iconic character, but make it more me. So this is what I came up with. So when I first wanted to get into cosplaying, I remember wanting to join a group in town here. And I was just talking to them about like their great costumes and, how much I wanted to get back into sewing at the time. And the guy interrupted me and said, no, you don't understand. We don't wear handmade costumes. Everything is screen accurate. So everything is like bought from like official, costume makers, like licensed costume makers. And I thought that was such a bummer, because I love to sew and I love to make props. So it kind of like deterred me from getting into cosplay. I still did, great Halloween costumes. I remember my Sergeant Calhoun was like my my crown jewel at the time. Completely made from scratch with working lathes. It was so much fun to make that I kept making costumes, but I didn't really get into cosplay because of that fear that it wasn't going to be good enough and it wasn't really following the rules. Some years later, I started following, great cosplayers on Instagram, and I realized that it's actually even better when the cosplay is an interpretation of the character, because it, is so much more creative, and it also brings a little bit of like yourself out. So that's where I am right now. I'm really into making, my own interpretation of these awesome movie costumes. So why Powerline? Well, as I said before, I was a big fan of a Goofy movie, and, Powerline is so much fun. He's essentially, the singer Prince that Disney created their own Prince for their movie. So, this like iconic 90s pop star all dressed in yellow, with the atomic symbol. He's so cool and so nerdy at the same time. I always thought he was so cool. But growing up, there wasn't a lot of people I knew that liked the movie. I really loved it, but my family wasn't really a fan, so we didn't watch it a lot. But it wasn't until I met my husband and asked him, have you seen a Goofy movie? And he was like, what are you talking about? Of course I've seen that movie. I love that movie. And it kind of had a resurgence in me, and I watched it a bunch of times. And I decided to commit to making this cosplay, even though I wasn't quite sure how it was going to come together. So earlier this year, I decided to jump in and really commit to making this cosplay. So first, I started from this beautiful yellow denim that I absolutely love. It's really soft, it's like durable, it's really easy to sew, and it doesn't really wrinkle, which is, so great. So I decided to make a dress that was kind of 50s inspired, something I could wear this summer just for fun, but also something that I could wear, a top under, and that I could personalize to make it look more like Powerline. So I went with a bodice that I've done before and a self-drafted half circle skirt, which I think looks really like flattering and super retro and flirty. So I really like the look. And this is my orange satin shirt that I made for my Joker costume a few years ago now. Time really flies. So I'm really happy with this look. At the time, I decided to make the shirt with short sleeves because I thought I would wear it more. It's a little less in your face than, full on long sleeves. And it's also quicker to make because you don't have to make the cuffs. But I'm really happy, they're like slightly puffy, they're super bright and shiny. So it looks really good for this costume. And I made the neckline low enough that you could see a collar pop through, which I think is really like cute. And yeah, so that's like a little detail. And of course I had a scrunchie that I had already made, and these like vintage gloves that I found at a thrift store for $1, I think. I think they really like complete the look. I also got the tights and the boots and the belt. And I think that each little piece kind of like brings it closer to a Powerline costume. These are the boots that I have bought for my Anna costume from The Guest. So yeah, I really like to be able to wear my costume pieces again and again because they take so much time to make. I know I've talked about this before, but we put so much time and money into our costumes that it's really great to be able to make, durable, wearable pieces and actually wear them again, to go out, to go to work, etc. So, it really earns a place in my overstuffed wardrobe because it's something that I can wear again. The last piece of the puzzle was the atomic symbol. So this is like completely removable. I made it kind of like a pin or a button if you want. So something that I can just like pop on, pop off the dress, so I can wear the dress without the huge logo. I made a little video on like, my start to finish, but essentially this is just some felt and some vinyl that I cut with my Cricut, and used a solid image to make the base of the symbol in yellow, which is a really close yellow to my dress. But in the costume, you can see that it's like slightly different color. So I went with a slightly like more orangey yellow for the back. So that's made in felt and is just cut like one solid piece. And then I used red vinyl for the symbol. And then I just ironed it on, and it worked like a charm. I'm really, really happy with this. And I actually cut a faux leather piece as well of the solid, so I could use it as a backing, so it's like stiffer and it won't fall apart. So that's essentially how I made this costume. It was really quick, especially since this is a dress bodice that I've made before and I knew that it would fit. And I also lined it with like a super fun kind of like Halloween fabric. It's like a little like secret. I like to do that. I like to use like fun linings in my dresses. I don't wear a lot of like solid colors, but when I do, I always like line them with like a super fun lining just to make it more me. So that's pretty much how this costume came together. Again, I chose to make it more like me, make it a dress, make it, more flare. I really was never going to wear a skin tight, bodysuit. So I basically had to just take some elements from the costume, like, the symbol, obviously, the yellow color, the gloves, the boots, this sort of like angular like shoulders and the gloves, just to make it, something that I could wear. I could actually feel comfortable wearing. So, the result is kind of awesome when you think about it. The fact that I was able to, turn it into something that I would feel really comfortable wearing. And I'm really, really proud. And it's also, not so on the nose that it might take some people like a few seconds to realize what I'm trying to be. But, it doesn't matter. I don't need to wear a bodysuit and know the choreography to be able to call myself a, Powerline cosplayer. That's what's great about the cosplay community, as I came to find later, is that there's all kinds of like super nice people who are really passionate about costuming and are willing to talk about it, and not in a snooty, like haute couture kind of way, which is, there's nothing wrong with haute couture. Obviously, I love it. I love fashion. But there's something about a handmade costume that was created, from scraps or from like weird things, or like put together with like, pieces that I've had these gloves for like a decade, and I have never really like worn them. And now I'm like, there you go. They're part of my cosplay. I think that's really awesome to be able to just put something together from scraps. Like I've made a Ray costume that was just, gray sweatpants and scarves that I wrapped around myself. And the crown jewel was those goggles that were made out of a soda bottle, a leather sole for shoes, some thread, some paint, and a flashlight. And, there's something about that. My Sergeant Calhoun costume was made from foam, paint, leggings, some dollar store lights that were just glued on. It's so much fun to be able to create something just from your brain, and it doesn't have to be screen accurate. It just has to be made with passion. And I think that when you put so much passion and so much creativity in a project, people are going to respond to it. They just can't help it. They just can't help being wowed by it. I've had so much love for my bounty hunter from Critters costume. I just can't even I didn't expect it. I didn't expect to get so much love because it's such like an obscure thing, but the fans really love it, which is so much fun. I spent a really long time on that one. So, it's really great to wear them and for people to like recognize you. And, that's what cosplaying is all about. If I can give you some words of wisdom, it's to take pictures of your costumes, of your cosplays, of your work. Take pictures. I literally shaved my head for a Furiosa cosplay about a decade ago. And I'm so sad that I don't really have a lot of pictures from it, because I spent 2 months working on that mechanical arm, and it was like a lot of work to put it together with the makeup and everything, and I don't really have a lot of pictures from it, so I really regret that. Same thing with my Sergeant Calhoun from Wreck-It Ralph. I think I have like one Polaroid from it, and I know it was like a different time where phone pictures weren't that great, but take some pictures of your work, because you're gonna regret it if you don't. You spend so much time, makeup and hair and everything, and then you don't really have a memory from it. So yeah, take some pictures. All right, so please go see A Goofy Movie if you haven't seen it. It's a really great movie. It's, obviously about Goofy and his son Max, and it's like a really cute film about, a father and son relationship. And yeah, it's a really great summer film too. It's like summer vacation, so right now is like prime time to watch it for sure. So yeah, go watch A Goofy Movie and, shake your booty to the Powerline song. And yeah, I really hope that you enjoy my video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.